Hello, this is Dr. Christy Patton-Lukes, a chemical engineering professor at Missouri S&T. In this video lesson, we're going to be looking at using MATLAB for matrix arithmetic. So we're not going to be doing anything too fancy, and probably if you've used MATLAB before, you've used it to do matrix arithmetic in some way, because that was really one of its original purposes for the software. So the first thing we need to know is how to enter matrices. And so we have various options of doing this. So let's say we want to put in, come in here, A equals, so I'll name the matrix A. A is, and I start with a square bracket, and I put my values in without any punctuation to indicate that I've got a row. And then the next row, so I put a semicolon to indicate the next row. And there we go. Okay, so I've got myself a matrix that I've entered here. I can do various things like matrix arithmetic with it, so I can do things like 2 times A. And it just goes through term by term and does each one of those. If I wanted to do 2 plus A, what it's done is it's added term by term the number 2 to it. Okay, so when it does this, it's called an array operation, not an arithmetic or not a matrix operation. So you need to be a little bit careful because it will do some things that are not strictly speaking matrix math, and sometimes that confuses things. So you need to know that matrices can be added if they are the same shape. Adding a constant to every term in a matrix for matrix math makes no sense. For array math is fine. So there's a whole bunch of different functions that look almost the same that we need to be aware of. So let me put in a second matrix, B equals, I'll make it the same size and shape, 2, 5, 7, semicolon, I'm just making up numbers. Okay, so I have 2 different matrices here, A and B, they are the same size and shape. And so if I now add these, A plus B, then what it's done is it's taken the 1 that I had before and added it to 2. It's taken the 2 that I've had before and adding it to 3. And it's doing term by term within the matrix. So this works, I can either do a constant and add it to every term, or I can add 2 matrices together if they have the same size and shape. I can also do A minus B, and it just subtracted everything. I can do matrix multiplication, so A times B gives me this answer. So for instance, the 46 here is taking the first row out of A and the first column out of B, multiplying term by term and adding them together. That's the correct way to do matrix multiplication. If I wanted to do, let me go back in here, A dot times B, I get a very, very different answer. And the dot is term by term multiplication, so it's saying first terms in each matrix multiplied together. So this is called array arithmetic. A times B with no dot is the matrix arithmetic. So it's very important that we recognize those. Now we also can do things like inverse matrices and transpose matrices. So for instance, if you wanted to take the determinant of matrix A, just det of A, and this should return a value, and our value is very nearly 0. Okay? The determinant of B is negative 49. If I want the inverse matrix of B, let's say, I end up with this. And I can check that B times inverse of B should give me the identity matrix, and it does. So if I wanted to do the inverse matrix of A, notice that I get a warning that it's a singular or nearly singular matrix. And so although it does give me an answer, this probably is not legitimate. A should not have an inverse in this case because its determinant was 0. So B did have an inverse, and when I multiply B in its inverse, I do indeed get the identity matrix, which is very important for when we use this to solve systems of equations. Now the other thing that we can do is we can do some weird matrix division. So if I do A divided by B, for instance, I end up with this answer here. Now this is the same as saying A times the inverse of B. Okay, right? Those are the exact same. We can also, however, do left division, which uses the backslash. And A backslash B, well, it's going to give me that error there because what it's saying is B times the inverse of A. I generally, so first of all, I was choosing something that had this warning because it really has no answer. But the other thing is this back arrow, although matrix math in MATLAB allows that, personally I recommend against using this just because it is a good way to get yourself into trouble. A times inverse of B or A over B being the same thing, try and use this technique rather than the backslash which says B divided by A, or B times the inverse of A. Anyway, so I want you to just play with some matrix math this week. Try both the ones with dots and without dots, and we will try some more problems in class, and then we'll come back and look at ways that we can use this to solve some legitimate practical engineering problems. Thank you very much for your time.